Just a couple thoughts reviewing the game. Just, I'm proud of the way the guys continuously battled for 60 minutes to obviously achieve the outcome that we achieved. And it's a reminder that each game you play presents different challenges throughout the game that you have to overcome. You have to overcome to win. I think everybody, myself, we all have thoughts and preconceived notions of how you think a game's going to go based on preparation, based on the record, based on your rosters and your game plan and all the different things. But, it's a reminder the game of football is always unpredictable, right? And how you handle the different things that happen throughout a game and the ability to make sure you win the next play is, if you do that more than your opponent, you're probably going to be able to get the desired result that you want. And I'm proud of the way our guys and coaching staff did that. We know it wasn't perfect. Obviously way too many penalties, mistakes, missed extra points, field goal. I think just too many missed opportunities in all three phases. Like any other week, we can all figure out why. Figure out what happened. We can all figure out what happened, but the challenge is to figure out why and then come up with a great plan of attack to fix those things, and while also getting ready to finalize a plan of attack against an opponent. And so, that's obviously the challenge. We know what happened. We got to figure out why and how we're going to continue to fix those things that we had struggles in on Saturday, and make sure our plan for Navy is one that we feel great about. And so, Navy presents another challenge, right? 7-1 team. Coach Newberry's third year, won 10 games last year. It's a good program and a good team. Experience, right? As I look at the roster, look at some film, a lot of guys that we saw last year, their offense is probably even more challenging as you prepare for them this year than it was last year. A lot more gun, pistol, and they still have the traditional triple option attack. And so I think their quarterback, Horvath, he's an experienced guy, and he makes the whole thing go. He's a special player. He's a special player in the run game and the pass game. And I got a lot of respect for him. I think he's tough. And so it's going to present a great challenge. And defensively, their defense is just as challenging. A unique set of looks, high pressure, high chaos, and then all of a sudden they'll drop 8 guys out. And so it's going to be a really good challenge and a rivalry game that we're looking forward to here on Saturday at Notre Dame Stadium. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
Back row on the right, Drew Mentok.
Tay Johnson said last week he watches at least 45 minutes of film a night, and that's allowed him to make a lot of the plays he has. I know he's a guy who had to work extra hard to even get to Notre Dame. How have you seen him maybe mature since even you started recruiting him in high school?
Yeah. He's matured tremendously as a football player, as an individual. He's a father, as a person. I'm proud of him for. You got to first understand, I need to grow. Right, that's the most important thing. If you don't think you need to grow and mature, you're not going to do the things it takes to grow and mature. And he understood that, and he's embraced it, and he's put the work in. And you're seeing some of the rewards on the football field, but off the field, he's maturing and having rewards in the classroom. He's doing good in school, in all areas of his life. And so I'm really proud of him, and I know he's going to continue to do great things on and off the field.
3 players with at least 400 receiving yards already this year. That took you twice as many games last year to accomplish that. How important was it to you, maybe coming into the season, to get to a point where the offense could be so much more dynamic?
Yeah. I think as you look at last year, teams could stack the box, and you still have the element of a quarterback run, which now kind of paralyzes that extra person they put in the box. That's not CJ's strong suit, but we know that if you continue to stack the box, he's got opportunities to throw the ball over the top of the defense, make good checks, put the ball in good areas. And so that's has to be a staple of what we do. We have to be able to run the ball, but if teams aren't going to allow you to run the ball, as you're seeing some teams try to do, we got to be able to throw the ball over the top of a defense, and we're having some success doing it.
Front row on the left, Tyler Horka.
You mentioned this being a rivalry game. Notre Dame has a lot of those, but seems like to varying degrees, right? There's USC, just had one, Boston College, now you have Navy. I'm wondering what it's like to prepare your team for that, like knowing it's a rivalry game, but it might not be as big as USC to some people. How do you get it to be as big as it is to your team every week?
Yeah, I think this is a unique one because it's an every-year rivalry, just like USC. Boston College, obviously isn't every year. And so, they often say rivalry games, the records don't matter. Go ahead. He's just trying to get his job done, man. I respect it, I respect it, man. Just a man trying to get his job done, records do matter, I believe. I mean, records are a reflection of where you're at as a program. Records are, it's a reflection of the opportunities you have in front of you. And so we know how big this game is for us personally, but also for the rivalry. I always say that what's more important than the opponent is the obligation we have to each other to get our jobs done. That's what's personal, right? Is that I have an obligation to everybody in this football program to get my job done as the head coach, and I want every person in our program to have that same mentality. That's what we got to take personal. But this rivalry game is one that it means a lot, just the history of it, and it'll be a good challenge.
Not that Jeremiah and JD need anything extra to get them going because they do what they do, but in the offseason there was some talk about some more two-back packages, and haven't seen a lot of those. I'm wondering what that might do for the offense if you're able to implement those the rest of the way.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different ideas and things that you can experiment with. We're having a lot of success with what we're doing. We experimented with that early in the season, and if there comes a game that we think that's going to give us an edge, we would try it. We just got to continue to do what we're doing better. And, we're greedy people. We all want perfection. But what we're doing right now is really, really good, and we just got to continue to make it better. And, again, we got to look for ways to enhance, too. Right? If that's a way to give us an added edge, an added benefit, we'll definitely consider that.
Third row on the right, Tim Priester.
Coach, you mentioned Navy's added now more gun and more pistol. Drew Krynick came in last year and added more of a passing component. With all the things that they do offensively, how do you teach the defense what they need to know without overloading them and then allowing yourself to still play fast?
Yeah, it isn't one where you can have a whole bucket list of calls defensively because they do so much, and it's a unique offense that you're going to have to make sure your eyes are in the right spot. And so we have to have enough, right? You have to have enough where you can play certain type of coverages, certain type of fronts, have enough to bring some pressure, but you're not going to have your normal call sheet that you would going into a game where you're playing with, quote unquote, a typical offense. And so you got to have enough to keep them off balance and to change the look in the plan of attack for their offense. But you can't paralyze your defense because, again, velocity is what matters, and our guys have to be clear on what they're asked to do.
Josh Burnham, I mean, obviously his best game of the year. I know that he was physically compromised preseason. He was last year at the beginning of the season. Just his journey this year to what he did Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, Josh has been battling some injuries, and he's a tough individual that would rather play at 75% than to wait till he's 100. I mean, that's just who he is. And there was times we didn't play him because 75% maybe wasn't better than the other guys that we would put on the field. But he's getting closer to feeling as healthy as he normally does before an injury. You know, he played well. I just remember some conversation I had with him that I know you want more. I know you want more. You just keep practicing. You keep getting healthy. You'll get more. And I didn't know when that was going to happen. It happened to be last Saturday. And because he was playing at such a high level, he got more in that game. And everybody in our program has that mindset, man, like Josh Burnham, that I want you to want more. But you still choose team before yourself. And you work your tail off. You take advantage of the opportunities that you get, and you're rewarded with more. And that's what Saturday showed. But he is a tough individual, and he's a team-first guy. And I'm glad he's on our team, and I'm glad that, you know, he got a little bit of the reward on Saturday for his hard work.
Third row on the left, Pete Byrne.
Marcus, in the past when we've talked about mistakes, you've differentiated between like mistakes of just being aggressive versus, you know, beating Notre Dame type things. And when you continue to see that, and I know you work on it so much and you preach it so much, how frustrating is it to you? And at what point do you feel like you need to try something different because for whatever reason with this group, some of the simple stuff isn't getting through?
Your judgment of everybody's opinion on what is an undisciplined. You're talking about penalty or a mistake? I guess
I'm talking about like sometimes pre-snap the penalties, and then also like the small kicks, right? I mean, I know there's some technical stuff with it, but I'm assuming that you expect every extra point to go through.
Yeah, 100%, right? Pre-snap penalties are not acceptable. They do happen, right? They do happen, and we got to continue to work on them. I think we had one false start and one offsides, and we have to get that to zero. You know, probably over the course of my career as a head coach and even as a player, that number being zero doesn't happen often. But it doesn't make it okay, right? Because as I always say, we strive for perfection. And so we got to keep working that. As far as the kicking situation, like we owe it to the team to be able to make extra points if we're going to attempt it. And if we don't think we can make an extra point, we shouldn't attempt it. I have confidence that we're going to be able to put the ball through uprights from a certain length. We'll figure out how far that line is. It usually changes every week. As I evaluate some of the issues in our kicking game, it's both physical and mental, but I think it's more starting to trend towards the mental side. And so what does that mean is that we got to put more work into the mental side of things, right? I can hear the answer. I'm not a kicking coach, but I'm responsible for it. And so you can tell me the answers, but everybody can identify some of the issues, like how do we fix it? What's the plan of attack? And that's what we've spent a lot of time in the past 48 hours of. I want to know the plan of attack to attack the mental and the physical side of kicking a football. And so we have a good plan. I'm confident that the kickers and the coaches and the people, sports psychology, all the people that we're investing into trying to fix this situation, we're going to get it done because there's want to and there's a good plan. That doesn't guarantee any success. I felt the same way 2 weeks ago, right after we missed an extra point or field goal, and we got together and said, what's the plan? Let's make it better. And it was better during the week, but we're evaluated off of results. We're evaluated, even though I don't focus on results, we're evaluated based off results. I am, and our coaches are, and our players are. And so we have to continue to enhance, change, tailor that plan so that the results can be better when they matter on Saturday.
First playoff rankings come out tomorrow. I know what you're gonna tell your team, regardless of what the number is in front of your team. But whether they're above the line they need to be at or below the line, how could you use either side of that to motivate them?
I don't. I'm gonna use Saturday's opportunity to motivate us. Like that's what matters. It really, like me using that is I believe wasted time. I do. And if I sit in my office and try to come up with some way to utilize our ranking to use it as motivation, I'm wasting time that I need to be really using to prepare for this upcoming game on Saturday. And so that's the motivation, is this opportunity we have on Saturday. And that's all we need to spend time thinking about. And the minute we start thinking about college football playoff, you're just wasting time. It's a great reminder. It might happen naturally. It's a great reminder when you start doing that, get back to the moment, get back to work, because that's what's important, not where we're at right now in the rankings.
Of the middle, Sean Stiers.
Marcus, you covered a lot with the kicking situation. I'm curious, you've got recurring instances, obviously, as you covered 2 games in a row now and multiple kicks and multiple kickers. So how much of what you've seen these last couple games is isolated to games, and how much of this are you seeing in practice, during the week?
Yeah, most of it's game. They're never perfect in practice. I mean, some days they are, right? We kick 2 times a week, and it's been pretty good in practice, but that doesn't mean anything if we're not doing it in the game. And so there has to be a process of translating what we're doing in practice to the game. And that's why I say a lot of it is mental. There's a technique to it, right? There's a technique to kicking a football, but there's a human element when all of a sudden you're out there on Saturday that can mess with your mind, mess with your head, and get you to revert back to a technique that isn't producing consistent results. So we have to really have a plan of attack for the human element that happens on Saturday. There's added pressure. And it's easy to say, don't feel the pressure, don't worry about the pressure. Like I would tell them, like, who cares? But it's easy to say that. It's really hard to do. And we have to continue to equip them with tools that helps them in that moment, right? And we can try to simulate it in practice. I can yell and scream at them. That's a way to simulate pressure, that your coach is going to yell and scream at you. But that has nothing. That's not even close to what's really the pressure probably they feel when they got to make a field goal, and especially after you've missed some. And so it's a challenge, but we got to fix it, and we got to work at it and attack it, and we're going to do that. We are doing that.
And then Luke Talich, his snap count hasn't necessarily jumped up a lot, but it seems like his level of play is, just in terms of being around the ball and making plays these last few games. What have you seen from him, kind of his ascension these last few weeks?
Yeah, he's doing his job, and when you do your job and the ball comes your way, now you're in a position to make a play. I mean, you've seen him make some big-time interceptions, game-winning interceptions. The past couple of weeks, his 4th down stop this past week was huge for our team when we're at in that moment. And it's a guy that embraces his role, works at his role, and when he's in there in the game, he's getting his job done and playing well. So, he's doing a great job for us.
Front row on the left, Jack Sobel.
Hey, Coach. One more about the kickers. As you evaluated what happened on Saturday, is Noah still your primary option, or is that something that's going to be decided during the week?
We'll figure it out during the week.
And then offensively, I think a few times we've asked you about early in games or short yardage. It's like you've been seeing looks that the defense gives you that you hadn't seen before. Like, how can you kind of deal with that in ways that maybe you haven't done early in the season?
Yeah, I mean, you got to make adjustments. It's the game of football. Like, we all aspire to go out and score every drive. That's what we want, but it doesn't happen. And you come up with different plans of attack, and you prepare for an opponent. You have your openers, and you go out there and try to execute. But again, there's still communication. There's looks. There's things that you have. We can try to create as many different defensive looks as we can in practice and say, if they do this, we want to do that. But this isn't, it's not, it's not like robots. Like there's only so much that they can comprehend, and you have to be able to get them to the sideline, make the adjustments, and they did. Like the first drive had some positive plays and decided to punt. And the second drive, again, had some positive momentum, got to a point where we was 4th down and we didn't convert. then it took off. Like we could have went 4 drives in a row with scoring. We fumbled on the 5-yard line, but they really, after that second series, you started to see, okay, now we're rolling. Now we know the different looks we're going to see defensively. There's only so much they can do. And it was really good, but we just didn't always finish, right? You score on the 3rd series, you got the ball on the 5-yard line in the 4th series, and you fumble. Like, we can't fumble. That's another score if you don't. We score on the 5th series, and then the series right before half was as good as we've done, like that 2-minute execution, and to put ourselves in a situation where we can kick that field goal right before half, and we miss it. And I think in the second half to come out and score first 2 possessions. So we want to start fast. We want to score every drive. We want to stop them every drive. Defensively, the first 2 drives, we went 3 and out and forced them to punt. You know, I think the 3rd one we either got an interception. So, but it doesn't always happen like that. What matters is you win the next play, and we're going to come up with a plan where we hope we plan on scoring the first drive. But if we don't, adjust and go attack the next drive.
Front row on the right, Eric Hansen.
Hey, Coach, there was a point where Notre Dame had a special squad in the spring that did nothing but triple option prep. I wondered how that has evolved as you've been the head coach, and if Tyler Buckner's still the best option to give you a great look in practice.
Yeah. You know, when I first got here, I know at some point they were recruiting triple option quarterbacks locally, guys. I think of Chase Ketter and you know, Justin Fisher played in a triple option type offense in high school. You know, as you watch this offense evolve, it's less and less true under center and triple option. And so there's still unique things that it presents. But I don't know if you just go to high school to get that one guy to be the quarterback. You know, we're going to have Blake be our scout team quarterback. But you run so much, a quarterback runs so much that it's a unique week where I think we're going to have 2 guys because of so many quarterback runs. But we've spent time throughout training camp, maybe a day or 2, a night or 2 during the bye week, because what you can't do is wait till the game week to try to say, okay, hey, guys, we're going to try to simulate this offense. You do that with other opponents, but not this one. And so we're going to try to get as close to a resemblance of what they'll see on Saturday. You never fully can resemble the speed that they run their offense at, but you try to get close.
Then I want to ask about Cooper Flanagan. He came back from the Achilles, and then he's kind of been a little bit iffy. What's his journey been like, and if you can get a higher pitch count on him, what can he do for this team?
That's what we're trying to do is we want to get the most out of Coop when we decide to play him. Like right now, he went out the USC game and played a couple plays in the first half, but you know, I think there was pain, but also confidence that he had in himself. And that, again, that's the human element that sometimes it's hard on these young guys, man. There's a human element. There's maybe a little bit of fear. There's a pain. What does the pain mean, especially when you've had a trauma, when you had a tough injury, or you miss an extra point or miss field like that? There's trauma that we got to continue to help these young guys get to a mental place that they can overcome that. And Coop's the same way. He's practiced the last 2 weeks, probably not at a level where he can like help us in a way we believe we need him to help us. And so hopefully here in next week, we can get him practicing to a level that we feel like we can get the most out of Cooper Flanagan.
Second row on the left, Tyler James.
Marcus, when you're defining roles for guys defensively this week against the Navy offense, how much more valuable is experience of having seen and played against this type of offense than maybe a different offense?
So valuable. You always can tell. I was looking at last year's post-game notes, and maybe it was like KVA, Kingston, and Alsbury. I think it was their first time playing Navy, and it was like, hey, they seem like first-year triple option players, right? And the experience of understanding how fast it's going to happen is so important. So there's so much value in being a person that has played against Navy or Army in previous experiences.
And I think it was last week you mentioned the battery's dead.
I can hear you.
Last week you mentioned that Chris Terek is maybe the next guy to go in on the interior. Styles Prescott's dealing with an injury at the tackle position. Who's next up? What other tackle options do you have?
Yeah, I think Styles will be back, but you can move Gerby out, right? There's options. Gerby can play tackle. Matty Augustine, I think he'll have 4 games. We're going to try to redshirt him, but he still has 4 games to play. Will Black, another guy. So there's different options of moving. It's not just a guy that's not playing, maybe going in at tackle, but we can make some adjustments with the guys that we have starting.
Front row on the right, Pete Sampson.
Short yardage defense, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, 4th and 2, obviously topical this week, and it happened a lot last week. Where do you feel like you guys are defensively with that? And I don't know what a good conversion rate is for a defense, because most offenses are going to expect to pick that up more times than not.
Yeah, I think on paper you say 50%, but that might make you one of the tops in the country. The best short yardage defense is being better on 1st and 2nd down. It really is. You got to have a good plan, but even with a good plan, it's really difficult to prevent an offense from getting a yard, but we'll never be okay with that. So we looked at our short yardage plan, how we can enhance it versus whatever opponent we're going against. But the biggest thing is be more efficient on 1st and 2nd down and not put yourself in 3rd and short situations.
You had mentioned sort of the mental plan for the kickers this week. What does a mental plan look like? How many sort of resources do you sound out to figure out, hey, here's what we got to do here?
Yeah, we've been working really hand-in-hand with Joey Raymaker, our sports psychologist. He meets with the specialists weekly, but we need to do more, right, and equip them with the right tools and practice the right tools so they can utilize them in crucial moments. It's one thing to hear different ideas of what you can do, but if you don't practice them and work at them, you can't use them. You can't use them when they matter the most. You got to really work at them. And so we have a plan, right? And you're going to put as much work into the plan on the mental side as you do on the physical side. We'll kick them 2 days a week like we always do, and there's going to be 2 days a week for multiple lengths of time that they're working on practicing those different tools that could help them in those moments.
Up the middle, Mike Berardino.
All right, hello, Marcus. Every Sunday, Brandon Aubrey kicks a ball to the moon, and the fans wonder if there might be another soccer guy who could help Notre Dame football. I know their season's winding down. Have you investigated that? Is that an option potentially once they're done? And if it's not, maybe you could explain, why it's logistically not.
Well, it's an NCAA rule that before the season you set your rosters at 105, and there's guys that you can declare grandfathered in that were previously on your roster, but once your rosters are set, you can't add anybody to your roster, and so that's why we can't do anything about that right now.
That's for the entirety of the season, postseason as well. And then 2-point conversions. Sometimes you guys make those look real easy. I know you got stopped the other time, but is there anything when you're huddling with Anthony where you would be tempted with your weapons on offense to just do that as a rule?
Yeah, it's a strategic thing where you want to go for 2 at times based on what the situation in the game is. But if there's a confidence that you can't make an extra point, you can either be insane and keep missing extra points, or you can go for 2, right? And so I'll tell you right now, in this moment, the confidence that we're going to be able to make an extra point. But if we don't, then I'll have to have some decisions to make about going for 2. And those are things that we'll have to decide.
On the right, Tim O'Malley.
Coach, this goes back to experience against Navy's unique offense, but from a coordinator's perspective, you are the exception to this rule, but 6 of the last 7 coordinators really struggled in their first year against Navy, and there's some really good coordinators on that list. Do you remember yours, or more important, what is your advice kind of for Chris Ash for game planning and for how to adjust to the situation?
Yeah, I was fortunate that I faced Navy 4 times when I was at Cincinnati. And I think 4 times, it might have been 3. But the very first time I faced Navy, they might have ran for a record. And
So you're no longer the exception to the rule.
exactly right. And so don't let my first year at Notre Dame confuse you with my first time playing Navy. I think it was a rushing record. It might have been in 2017, and I didn't have any answer. Right? They just kept running the ball and just kept running the ball, and we couldn't stop them. And that was that's a rough feeling. And it was really a decision we all made as a coaching staff, but it was like, we can't let this happen again. We got to dive deeper into it. We got to figure out what they're looking for, not just how to stop it. And, we got better as we continue to move forward against triple option offenses. And we did a good job my first year here. But it's a different offense than I faced when I was a coordinator here. It is truly enhanced, but I feel we'll have a good plan. Our guys will play fast. We'll be able to adapt and adjust. Our guys have experience, which is important, right? It's important. I know you could say that they had experience when Coach Golden took over, that offense. They did a good job. And so I don't know how it's going to be. We all have these preconceived thoughts of how we think it'll go on Saturday. Win the next play and find a way to win this game is what's important.
That's all the time we have today.
All
Thanks,
right.
Coach.
Thank you. Have a good one.